Today we are going to tackle a delicate and complex topic in Christian history. We will talk about the tortures suffered by the saints before their martyrdom. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel if you are new and leave a like on the video. Now let's start. Turn me around, this way it's done. Words so crude, so surreal, yet passed down as the last whisper of a man put to death in the most unimaginable way. Irony, extreme courage, or perhaps a declaration of faith so powerful that it will resonate through the centuries. This is the story of Saint Lawrence, a martyr who, dying in flames, lit one of the most ardent torches of early Christianity. In 258 AD, the Roman Empire was facing one of its most unstable phases. Emperor Valerian, determined to crush the spread of Christianity, issued a ferocious edict. The clergy was to be eliminated and the wealth of the church confiscated. Christians, seen as a threat to the Roman gods and tradition, became the targets of ruthless persecution. Lorenzo, then Archdeacon of Rome, had the responsibility of managing the assets of the church and assisting the poor. When the Roman prefect ordered him to hand over those treasures, Lorenzo asked for 3 days' time. At the end, he showed up not with gold or silver, but with the poor, the crippled, the orphans, and the marginalized. Here are the true treasures of the church, he said. It was a brazen, revolutionary challenge, and for this he was condemned to die not with a swift sword stroke, but roasted alive on a grill. According to the church fathers, such as Ambrose of Milan, Lorenzo resisted the flames thanks to his unshakable faith. And it was during his torture that he uttered those famous words, "Assum est, versa et manduca," it is cooked, turn me over and eat. An extreme irony that transformed horror into legend. His tomb, near the catacombs of Syriaca, became a destination for pilgrimages, and the Basilica of San Lorenzo fuori le mura was later erected on it, one of the 7 principal churches of Rome. His martyrdom did not extinguish faith, it made it immortal. Flayed for the faith, the test of St. Bartholomew. How do you survive the loss of your own body? For St. Bartholomew, one of the 12 apostles, death came in one of the most inhumane forms conceivable. He was flayed alive. After preaching in distant regions, Mesopotamia, India, Armenia, Bartholomew attracted conversions but also anger. According to tradition, an Armenian king named Astyages, brother of a converted ruler, he saw him as a threat to the pagan gods and the political order. He had him arrested and sentenced to a horrible death. His skin was torn off while he was still alive. It was a slow, cruel punishment, not only physical, but deeply symbolic, destroying a man's identity through his body, annihilating him. Yet, according to texts such as the Synaxarion and the Golden Legend, Bartholomew continued to praise God, even during the atrocious torture. In art, his martyrdom has been immortalized in works such as Michelangelo's Last Judgment, where he appears serene, holding his own skin like a cloak. His body was then beheaded and thrown into the sea, but the Christians recovered it. His relics rest today in the Church of San Bartolomeo all'Isola in Rome. His martyrdom teaches that even though the flesh may be torn, faith cannot be torn away. Dragged, to death. The fate of Saint Hippolytus. What happens when a man who served the empire becomes its victim? Saint Hippolytus, a great Christian theologian and polemicist, suffered one of the most violent deaths of the early church. Initially a rival of the Pope and a rigorous defender of discipline, Hippolytus was, however, arrested under the Emperor Maximinus Thrax in 235 AD during a new wave of persecutions. Deported to Sardinia, together with Pope Pontian, he was forced to work in the mines. There, he made peace with the church. But forgiveness did not stop the violence. According to tradition, Hippolytus was tied by his limbs to wild horses and torn to pieces as he was dragged over steep terrain. An execution designed to terrify. Yet his tomb soon became a place of veneration, and St. Jerome praised him as one of the greatest ecclesiastical thinkers. His most famous treatise, Refutation of All Heresies, survives today as evidence of his spiritual legacy. He was torn in body, but unified in faith. St. George and the torture wheel. Behind the myth of the knight who killed the dragon lies a much harsher truth. St. George, a Roman soldier and a convinced Christian, lived during the reign of Diocletian, one of the most ferocious persecutors of the faith. When George refused to renounce Christianity, he was arrested. Hagiographies describe a series of horrific tortures. He was scourged, poisoned, immersed in lead, but above all, subjected to the torture wheel, a rotating mechanism with sharp blades that tore the body at each turn. Yet it is said that he resisted everything, miraculously healed several times, before being beheaded in Nicomedia in 303 AD. His cult spread rapidly, and George became the patron saint of soldiers and a symbol of invincible faith. Behind the legend is a man who faced the unimaginable, singing the glory of Christ as he was dismembered. The enforced silence, Saint Agatha and the cut tongue. What happens when a voice is so powerful that it must be silenced by force? Saint Agatha of Catania, a young Christian woman of noble origins, rejected the advances of the Roman governor Quinciano, choosing faith and chastity. For this, she was imprisoned in a brothel, tortured, and finally mutilated. Among the most terrible tortures, her tongue was torn out as punishment for having dared to speak against the authority, as a symbol of the imperial will to silence every dissenting voice. Yet, according to tradition, she continued to proclaim her faith without speaking, inspired by a supernatural force. She died in 251 AD during the persecutions of Decius. Her tomb in Catania became a place of pilgrimage. On one occasion, it is said that a lava flow from Etna was stopped thanks to her veil, carried in procession. Agatha's martyrdom was not only physical, but spiritual and symbolic. By taking away her voice, they gave her an eternal echo. Blood as seed, the legacy of the martyrs. Christian martyrs are not just figures of pain. They are living narratives of resistance, faith, and transformation. Lorenzo, Bartolomeo, Ippolito, Giorgio, Agatha, each one suffered indescribable suffering. But instead of extinguishing their faith, those tortures made it immortal. Their deaths challenged empires and authorities, and their stories continue to resonate as testaments to the power of conviction against oppression. As Tertullian wrote, "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church." That's all for today. And what do you think of these stories? Let me know in the comments. Your opinion is very important to me. You help us support the channel. See you next time. Bye.